This week's Torah portion comes out of Deuteronomy and it starts in chapter 3. And while you guys get your Bibles out and ready, cough, cough, children, I'll go ahead and read the blessing over the Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikal ha'amin venatan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai notin ha-Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, our Elohim, King of the universe, who chose us from all the people and gave to us his Torah. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. So this week, the Torah portion is called Vetanan, which means, and I pleaded. It's called and I pleaded because it starts off with Moses remembering when Yahweh told him he was not going into the promised land. And he's pleading with Yahweh to let him in. So this Torah portion starts off with Moses standing at the edge of the promised land, right? Because they're right there. He brought them all the way through the wilderness, all the way through all of the trials and tribulations and all of the times that Yahweh was ready to smite everybody and he stood in the gap for them. And he's standing there so close, but he knows that he can't go in. He's just reflecting on the moment that he found out that he wasn't going to go in, and he was pleading with Yahweh. But despite his prayers and his pleading, Yahweh said, "You're not going. As a matter of fact, you're not going, and I want you to prepare Joshua to be the new leader." That's kind of like a stab in the gut, right? You're not going, but I want you to get the guy who is going ready. So we're gonna pick up reading right from there, and we're gonna start in Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 1. And this is what it says. "Now therefore, hearken, O Israel, unto the statutes and unto judgments which I teach you, for to do them that ye may live, and go in and possess the land which Yahweh, Elohim of your fathers, giveth you. Ye shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall ye diminish out from it, that ye may keep the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, which I command you." So what he's saying here is, hey, I'm going to remind you guys of the commandments that Yahweh gave you, and you are not to do anything more or anything less. You're not going to add to it. You're not going to take it away. In today's world, we have strayed so far that we have added lots of things to what Yahweh commanded us to do, and we have taken away lots of things that Yahweh has commanded us to do. So I wanted to read that verse to remind us we need to just stick to the word. We need to just stick to what Yahweh asked us to do, no more, no less. As we continue reading, Moses reminds them of the covenant that Yahweh made with them, and he reminds them again that idolatry is forbidden. And you're going to see a few times where he reminds them of that, and it's because it was, I feel like that was the hardest thing that they dealt with, idolatry. It's the thing they kept going back to over and over and over again. Shabbat shalom. So once he reminds them again, idolatry is forbidden, then continuing the Torah portion, he designates 3 cities that people can take as refuge if they accidentally kill somebody. So when I read that, I said, man, they need 3 cities to accidentally kill somebody? How many people are we accidentally killing, right? Then we need 3 cities. But then I remembered, like, OSHA wasn't around back then, so there probably was a lot of accidental deaths because we didn't have a lot of the safety mechanisms that we have now. So if somebody accidentally killed somebody, they can go to one of the 3 cities that Moses designated for them to take refuge in. As we continue, Moses recalls when Yahweh gave them the 10 commandments, and he reminds them what they are. And I know a few weeks ago when I did the Torah portion, I went through them, but they're so important. They're repeated over and over and over again in the Bible, so I figured let's go through them again today. So here are the first 10 commandments. Thou shalt have no other gods before Yahweh. Thou shalt have no idols. And idols in today's world, I think we can say things like money or houses or cars. It doesn't just have to be like a god that you pray to. It can be all of these things, whatever things that you desire more than you desire Yahweh, you're creating an idol out of that thing. Thou shalt not take the name of Yahweh thy Elohim in vain. Keep the Sabbath day. Well, we're doing that one. Honor thy father and thy mother. Honor thy father and thy mother. Well, that goes, I just wanted to make sure that everybody in the second row heard me. Oh, okay. You're right. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not lie. And thou shalt not covet. So these are the 10 commandments, and Moses reminds the children of Israel in this Torah portion. These commandments keep us aligned with Yahweh's covenant, and that's why Moses stresses them so much, to remind us to keep these commandments. We're going to continue reading in our Bibles in chapter 6 of Deuteronomy, starting in verse 1. It says, Now these are the commandments and statutes and the judgments with which Yahweh your Elohim commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it. That thou mightest fear Yahweh thy Elohim, to keep all his statutes and all his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that thee may increase mightily, as Yahweh, Elohim of thy fathers, hath promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh, our Elohim, is one Yahweh. And thou shalt love Yahweh, thy Elohim, with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the doorposts of thy house, and on thy gates. And I wanted to read these verses because this is what we say every Shabbat. We repeat these words every Shabbat. So in case you were ever wondering, why do we say these things? Why is this part of our liturgy? Why do we say this every Friday night when we're sitting down with our family? It's because it comes directly out of the Bible, word for word. It comes out of the Torah. One of the things I wanted to point out earlier in the beginning, one of the 10 commandments is to honor thy father and thy mother. And he says to honor them so that your days may be prolonged. Well, one of the things that we need to remember is that Yahweh is our Father, right? So since he's our Father, then we should also honor him. And it says here, so that our days may be prolonged. It's not just about honoring your earthly father or the mother that gave birth to you. It's about honoring your Father up in heaven as well, and honoring his commandments and the things that he asks us to do. So I just wanted to give you guys that little tidbit. And then as we continue reading, once again, he talks about refraining from idolatry. And we're going to skip a little bit forward to chapter 6, verse 20. And this is what it says. And when thy son asketh thee in time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which Yahweh our Elohim hath commanded you? Then thou shalt say unto thy son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and Yahweh brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And Yahweh showed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes. And he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in, to give us the land which we swore unto our fathers. And Yahweh commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear Yahweh our Elohim for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is to this day. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before Yahweh our Elohim, as he hath commanded us. So he's saying, when your kids ask you, why do we follow these commandments? Why are we doing all these things? What does all of this stuff mean? What he's saying is remind him that at one point in time we were slaves to Egypt. And Yahweh did all of these mighty, great things to pull us out, to save us, to rescue us, in a sense, from our bondage. And he's saying, Yahweh did so much for us. The least that we can do is keep his commandments, keep his word, hearken on to what he's asking us to do. So he's saying to remind your children about that. And it goes back to what we read in the Shema, where it's like, and teach it diligently unto your children. So it's our responsibility as parents to teach the word to our children and encourage them to keep it. We're going to go ahead and continue reading. We're going to jump to chapter 7. And we're going to start off in verse 6. Chapter 7, verse 6. All right, we'll get into my meat and potatoes. I just wanted to give you guys some summaries real quick. All right, so Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art a holy people unto Yahweh thy Elohim. Yahweh thy Elohim hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And I just want to pause there for a second, right? If you're sitting here right now, observing the Sabbath and keeping Yahweh's laws, you've been chosen by Yahweh to be, a special people, holy people unto him. Whether you were born into this, whether you were brought into this by a friend or a coworker, whether you were brought into this by your husband, no matter how you made it here because you've been chosen by Yahweh to be here right now, to be part of his holy people. So I just want everybody to reflect and take a moment to think that you are so special, you are so amazing that Yahweh chose you to be part of his holy people. We're going to continue reading in verse 7. Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people. But because Yahweh loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers, hath Yahweh brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh the king of Egypt. Know therefore that Yahweh thy Elohim, he is Elohim, the faithful El, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that love him, keep his commandments to 1,000 generations, and repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack. To him that hateth him, he will repay him to his face. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day to do them. So I'm going to rewind really quick. He says that he's going to repay the people that hate him to their face. And if you recall the last few times that I have taught, I remind you guys of the blessings and the curses, and how Yahweh makes vows. And sometimes he vows to bless you, and other times he vows to curse you. And this is the Yahweh that people like to forget about. They like to push him to the back of their mind. They like to think that because Yeshua came through, that that this Yahweh, this part of Yahweh doesn't exist. Yahweh doesn't change, right? Yahweh never changes. So we're dealing, the same Yahweh that we're talking to today is the same Yahweh from back then. So if you hate Yahweh, pretty much he's saying he's going to show you who's boss, right? He's going to show you who's boss. So I wanted to focus on that word hate. And how does somebody hate Yahweh? Well, I looked at the definition of hate. And hate is a word used to indicate loving someone. I'm reading the wrong one. Sorry. Hate is a strong dislike for someone or something else. Sorry. But when we look in the Bible, and if you have one of those study Bibles, the definition of hate in the Bible is defined as loving something or someone to a lesser degree than something else. So, for example, Jacob hated Leah, simply because he loved her less than he loved Rachel. Or, their names are escaping me. Jacob and Esau. Yeah. It doesn't mean like, oh, I hate you the way that we use this word today. When we see the word hate in the Bible, it's just loving them less than something else. If we think back to the Shema, you are to love Yahweh with all your heart and with all your soul, right? So if you don't do that, then you're loving him less, which is hate in the Bible. So, like I told you guys before, when I see something like that in the Bible, I want to think, well, what's the opposite, right? If he's going to punish me for hating him, then what about if I do love him? And how do we show Yahweh our love? Do we just say it out loud, Yahweh, I love you, Yahweh, I love you, Yahweh, I love you? Has anybody in here ever been told, I love you by somebody who doesn't really love you or who doesn't really show it with their actions? So the question is, how do we show Yahweh that we love him and that we don't hate him or love him less? And I found some Bible verses that talk to us about how we can show Yahweh that we love him. The first verse is in Deuteronomy chapter 11. Starting in verse 13. Deuteronomy 11, verse 13. And it shall come to pass that if ye shall hearken diligently unto my commandments, which I command you this day, to love Yahweh your Elohim, and to serve him with all your heart and all your soul, that I will give you the rain of your land in this due season, the first rain and the latter rain, that thou mayest gather in thy corn, and thy wine and thine oil. And I will send grass in thy fields for thy cattle, that thou mayest eat and be full. So he's saying that if you follow the commandments, which is to love Yahweh, then he's going to bless you and your cattle and your field and all these things. And I wanted to find a verse from the New Testament as well. So for that, we're going to turn to John chapter 14. And this verse you guys have heard quite a few times, but we want to learn how to show Yahweh that we love him. So we're going to give you guys these notes. So we're going to go to John chapter 14, verse 15. And this is Yeshua talking. And this is what Yeshua said. If ye love me, keep my commandments. And I don't think it gets any simpler than that. He's saying, if you love me, just keep my commandments. Just do what I ask you to do. Further on in the same exact chapter, verse 21, he says, he that hath my commandments and keepeth them, he it is that loveth me, and he that loveth me shall be loved of my Father, and I will love him and will manifest myself to him. So once again, he's saying, he that has my commandments and keeps them, that's the person who loves me. The person who follows my commandments. That's the person who loves me. We're going to turn our Bibles again to 1 John. We're going to go to 1 John chapter 5. 1 John chapter 5, verse 1. Whosoever believeth that Yeshua is the Messiah is born of Elohim, and every one that loveth him that begot loveth him also that is begotten of him. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim when we love Elohim and keep his commandments. For this is the love of Elohim, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous. Once again, the ones who keep Yahweh's commandments are the ones that love him. We're going to turn our Bibles one more time. I got one more verse for you guys. To 2 John chapter 1. Starting on verse 4. 2 John chapter 1, verse 4. I rejoice greatly that I found of thy children walking in truth, as we have received a commandment from the Father. Our children walking in truth. So that goes back to teach them diligently to your children, right? So that your children know the truth of the word and that they walk in it. Continuing in verse 5, and now I beseech thee, lady, not as though I wrote a new commandment unto thee, but that which we had from the beginning, that we love one another. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye should walk in it. I love that one the most, that's why I saved it for last. He's saying, these aren't new commandments that we're coming up with. Yahweh gave us the commandments from the beginning. We've had the commandments for since the beginning of time. And if you want to show Yahweh that you love him, then you're going to keep the commandments. He's not changing them and saying, oh, today I want you to wear blue, but tomorrow I'm going to ask you to wear red. No, he gave you the commandments in the beginning. He has never changed them, and he just wants us to keep them. And that's how we show that we love Yahweh. Love is more than a feeling. It's demonstrated through faithfulness. And that's true even in our everyday lives. If you love your wife, you're going to be faithful to her in all categories, and vice versa. It's not just words. It's not just when I see them, I get butterflies. Love is something that you truly have to prove and show that you have for someone. Overall, this Torah portion, it's not about legalism, it's about love. The commandments are not a burden to us, but they're a blessing. They're designed to protect and guide us and bring us closer to Yahweh. The commandments are not a ladder to earn salvation. They're a pathway for the saved. Moses couldn't enter the promised land, but he left us with the map, the Torah. If we truly love Yahweh, we will guard his words, teach them, live them, and let them shape us. The world doesn't need more people who say they love Yahweh. It needs people who show it through covenant and faithfulness. And that's this week's Torah portion.